So let me bust this myth, because whenever we talk about analytics, we always feel that it's all about numbers. And the result was that 57% of extroverts performance was because analysis is not analytic. So when I say HR analytics, I'm not talking about HR analysis. ATT dash 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 ON rate, right? What do you think it represents? Today's session is about impact on business, and there are just too much to talk on. But the way I'm looking at structuring the session today is that I would want to burst some myths about HR analytics, and then I would want to talk about the structure of HR analytics, and then I would talk about how the measurement actually happens, and then I would want to talk about the problem that HR analytics aims at solving, and then probably pick up a quick, easy example of a problem that has been solved, and then end the session with what the field holds. Right? This is what I'm looking at covering today when we talk about impact on business. Quickly moving ahead, and this whole session would be incomplete if I do not quickly introduce CHRMP.
Don't forget to press the like button and leave your comment. Share the video and subscribe to our channel for more HR-related content. To never miss a notification on our latest uploads, make sure you hit the bell icon.
So CHRMP is a global certification in human resource. It is a competency-based certification. We are talking about consulting and certifying 11 of Fortune 100 companies, certified participants from 52 countries across 6 continents. Being an Indian brand, it's something that some good work that we have gone about doing, and close to 10,000 strong alumni base. Right? You can go in LinkedIn and search. You should like our CHRMP page as well. You'll find alumni working in top-notch companies, people who are CHRMP certified. Right? Now, coming to the topic, right? Let me first. Now, I think we have been hearing about business analytics, and we are talking about sales analytics, and we have been talking about machine learning and AI. And a lot of times when I'm interacting in conferences or otherwise in my interaction with corporates, and with whether it's the entire HR team or the CHRO or somebody who's looking at starting a career in human resource analytics, I see resistance and some kind of reservation when we talk about HR analytics. So it's very, very important that these important myths about HR analytics needs to be busted. And the first myth here today is that HR analytics is for people who are very, very good with mathematics, right? Or statistics, right? So let me bust this myth, because whenever we talk about analytics, we always feel that it's all about numbers. And I'm talking to a crowd from the Himalayan IIM, so I'm sure all of you are great at it. However, when people choose specialization in human resource, I would say a good percentage of people choosing human resource is because somewhere there is less affinity for numbers. So let me tell you that when we talk about HR analytics, it's not, we are not talking about integration and differentiation and sine theta and cosec theta and these calculus and elements like these. Most of analytics that happens is based on basic arithmetic and statistics, right? So it's not very complex. It's easy. Also, HR doesn't deal with big data too much, right? Because when we talk about big data, the volume, the velocity, the variety of data coming in makes what we call as big data. And most of the time, HRs don't deal with, 9 out of 10 times, HRs don't deal with big data. So HR analytics is simpler, it's more human, and it's very, very interesting. right? So this is the first myth that I would want to probably burst. The second myth that I want to burst is that you need to be good with programming, or you need to understand programming to be good at HR analytics. Again, this is not something that I have seen in my interaction with industry, nor I have seen as a requirement with so many corporates that I have worked, or my counterparts and people from industry that I represent of consulting and certification talk about, right? In fact, in 2010, when in Silicon Valley, this whole concept of HR analytics was being discussed, and number of Fortune 500 companies then decided that we need to do HR analytics. It was given to IT and operations folks to do HR analytics, right? And by 2014, it was realized that most of the analytics and predictions that business folks were making about talent and about human resources was not working out. There were errors and there were mistakes, right? So then HR analytics was being now done largely by human resource. So if you look at last 4 or 5 years is what I say. When I say HR analytics, you see the HR in caps in analytics, because earlier it was different folks who were probably doing it, right? And the reason being was that organizations initially thought that somebody who can crunch data and who can program, and it would be better utilized, because end of the day it's data and it's about tracking and trending and understanding. But a human element was not understood, which led to these mistakes. So now HRs do analytics and they give inputs. And even if we are talking about advanced analytic concepts like sentiment analytics, or we are talking about machine learning, or we are talking about bots, or we are talking about other elements, it's the input variable that HRs give it, right? The functional perspective is largely done by the IT folks, and it is not mandated for human resource professionals to be able to do that, right? But it also means that we need to be really good with data visualization, data modeling. We need not be good with programming, but tools like Power BI, Tableau really makes a lot of difference, because it helps you have very, very interactive visualization of what elements may look like, right? And third myth is, and this a lot of times people ask me, that, okay, I am a HR VP, I am a business partner, or I am into talent development, or I'm into talent acquisition. How is analytics relevant to my role, right? So, the truth is that 7 out of 10 roles in human resource in next 4 years would require analytics input or exposure, because it's not about a designation of analysts that we are talking about. It is about evidence-based HR practices, and when data-driven HR practices, and that is true for any vertical within human resource. So whether it's talent development, or whether it's performance manager, or whether it's employee engagement, or whether it's compensation, or whether it's talent acquisition, whichever vertical that we are talking about, you would see element of analytics coming in, right? And even to interact with HR analytics COE, a center of excellence that gets created within the HR department or within the organization, you still need to know basic analytics to be able to give and interact with that data, right? So there is a lot of scope when we talk about human resource analytics in terms of this. So these 3 myths are very, very important, something that needs attention and something that needs to be busted before we move ahead, right? Okay. Also, in this session, I would want you to interact. When I say interact, I would be asking questions from time and again, and I would want you to be very, very participative. I would want you to be interactive. I would want you to answer, because there would be multiple instances when I would do that, right? And let me begin by asking all of you to answer this for me with the poll that I am launching now, right? 166, which is 91% of people feel that an extrovert would be able to perform better in a sales role, and 16 out of 182, which is 9%, feel that an introvert would be able to perform in a sales role better. So it's hands-on extrovert, right? Anybody who has chosen introvert? Okay, so Vaibhav says introverts because they are better listeners. Selling is speaking. Okay, great, wonderful. So we have some ideas coming in. That's wonderful. So let's see when a personality assessment of the sales team was done for one of the organizations. What was the result? What was the result, right? So for outcome of an insurance organization, that insurance, this is not even consultative selling where you are asking a lot of questions, you are gauging and you are pitching, which is true maybe for an introvert where people are good listeners or whatever. We are talking about an insurance organization, which is largely a product organization. The result was that 57% of extroverts performance was below what was expected. So 57% was below performance, 29% was average performance, and there was a 14% success rate. There was only a 14% success rate for the organization. Now, why do we deal with data like this? And why, in this case, 91% of probably guesses didn't work well, right? And the reason is that gut is used more by humans than data, right? And there is always this fight between gut and data. What I feel is this. In fact, we do extensive consulting in behavioral event interviewing as well with organizations representing CHRMP. And even with best of organizations, we have had CHROs and talent acquisition heads and directors telling us that it takes me 30 seconds for a person who walks into the room to gauging whether the person is a good or a bad hire, right? So if you have already concluded in first 30 seconds, the next 14 and a half minutes that you have spent in that room is only proving yourself right. Yeah. So gut is anti-analytics. And I'm not saying it's anti-analytics completely, but there is definitely a versus. And I think what we need to do is whenever a question comes in or whenever any problem statement comes in, we do not conclude, because if we start concluding, then even the analysis or analytics that we would do would be compromised. It's very, very important that we step back. We step back, we look at something, we ask questions, we try understanding the roles, whatever the element may be. And then we look at asking questions specific to what data do we have, what data is missing, what does it suggest, what X and Y and Z, and then we suggest a solution or start working towards a solution without concluding. It is very, very important. It is very, very important, right? So I'm not saying that extroverts will do better or introverts will do better. It was a trick question. It can be anyone, but it would largely depend on us realizing that whenever something is asked, let's step back, look at something and ask question and then proceed and look at the data that is there, right? In fact, you can back gut with data. You can also back data with gut, and either way you would be able to see things working in a better manner and you being able to make better and more informed decisions. Very, very important, right? Okay, wonderful. So with this thought, let me now get and differentiate a very, very key element of understanding that we all need to have at this juncture, right? Especially the fresh minds that I'm talking to. You need to differentiate between analysis and analytics. That's very, very important, because analysis is not analytic. So when I say HR analytics, I'm not talking about HR analysis, right? When we talk about analysis, we are talking about looking backward in time, right? We are talking about something historically that has happened, right? Something that we already know of, something for which data exists, right? And analytics, on the other hand, is about modeling the future or predicting a result, right? And it's not that analytics is not interacting with analysis. That's very wrong to gauge that, or it's to say that it's completely different would not be right. But analytics is futuristic and it's more predictive, and analysis is not predictive. It is more descriptive, right? So you interact with analysis to understand the why and to be able to predict the future better. So you do interact in analytics, you do interact with analysis, but these are two different concepts, right? So you have analysis and you have analytics, which is very, very important. And on these two terminologies, which is analysis and analytics, most of the models which work on business analytics or HR analytics are based, right? For example, if I take up one of the most popular models, which is the maturity model. I'm sure, I mean, you may have exposure to this or you may be studying, but if you look at the maturity model, it talks about 4 steps to it, isn't it? It talks about descriptive, it talks about diagnostic, it talks about predictive, and it talks about prescriptive. An increasing level of validity in terms of the data complexity and interaction that we are talking about, right? So when we talk about descriptive and diagnostic, we are talking about analysis steps. And when we talk about predictive and prescriptive, we are talking about analytics steps, right? In fact, if I have to expand this slightly more, because most of the models, whether you by top-notch companies, which talks about even consulting for organizations for analytics, or the process that they follow is this, right? It is about first 2 steps being analysis and next 2 steps being analytics. And the first step in analysis is descriptive, right? And if you look at this, it is descriptive statistics that we are talking about, which largely is answering a very, very important question of what happened, right? And the next step is diagnostic statistics, but it is statistics that we are talking about, not analytics that we are talking about. And here we are talking about why it happened. So first you describe and understand what happened looking at data, and then you get deeper into it and you understand why it happened, right? It's very similar to a visit to a doctor, which is not a very welcome thing, especially in 2020 and 2021. But let's say there is a visit to a doctor. If you see, doctors ask a lot of questions, right? How are you feeling? How long has been the fever been? Are you coughing? What have you eaten? How's your stomach? A lot of questions they will ask. And then they would also prescribe some blood tests and reports and scans, largely to gauge and diagnose, isn't it? Right? And then comes, once these 2 steps are done, which is what happened and why it happened, comes in the analytics step of prediction, right? Of predicting something that may happen, right? Let's say an organization, there is high employee turnover and high attrition rates. So if there is attrition rate and you understand what attrition rate is and you apply the attrition rate formula and you understand the reasons why attrition is happening by looking at exit interview data and looking at employee surveys and looking at other information and other data, and looking at the kind of companies and the competitors whom you have lost to, right? Once you analyze this, you understand why it happened. You can predict what can happen next, right? So for example, if X and Y and Z are the reasons why people have left the organization, and that, let's say, attrition rate is 18% or 20%, and nothing much has been done about it, predicting of what would happen quarterly for next financial year would not be that difficult. You would be able to do that, right? And so that's predictive analytics. And then comes prescriptive, right? Prescriptive is where the cream lies, right? Prescriptive is where the solution lies. So from reporting of what happened and why it happened to solutioning, look at this, right? From reporting to solutioning, prescriptive analytics, you're giving a solution. If you take step A and step B and step C and step D, you can reduce the iteration rate from 18% to 12%. That's the possibility. You are giving a solution. You are giving a input which is solving a problem, right? So if you look at all this while in last 40, 50 years of how industry has evolved, human resource, which is a support function, has largely been giving reporting data to the organization. Attrition rate, this is the attrition rate. Absenteeism rate, this is the absenteeism rate, right? But now we are talking about giving a solution to the business, which is coming through predictive and prescriptive analytics, right? So this is the journey that we are talking about when we talk about analytics maturity model. But it's also important at this point of time to not only look at the maturity model, but also look at few other models and what it has in it for us, right? What visibility or what exposure that it gives. So there is limited time. So probably I would quickly talk about two models. One is a Gartner model, and which is, I mean, it's unbelievably similar to the maturity model. And here it gives some input, but it's, if you look at it, it's more or less the same. So it talks about descriptive analytics and predictive analytics and prescriptive analytics, though I would want you to keep in the differentiation of statistics and analytics and analysis and analytics to be able to understand where it lies and not get confused. But then this is what Gartner model suggests, right? Of descriptive to prescriptive and three-step model, which is descriptive analytics, predictive analytics, and prescriptive analytics, where hindsight is giving you insight, and insight is giving you foresight, and information is leading to optimization, right? So it's well structured. It is giving you some keywords which are very, very important when you are running the analytics process. And it is also talking about value and difficulty being the X and the Y axis here. So it is something, but it is uniquely, or it is, if you look at, it's very, very similar to what we talk about in terms of, in fact, maturity model is mother-of-all models for all analytics that we talk about. But another interesting model that I would want you to have a visibility of, or at least information about, is one of my favorite models, which is a SAP model of analytics, right? And when we talk about SAP model of analytics, it is talking about almost the same thing as maturity model. So if you look at the sense and respond area, we are talking about what happened and why it happened, which is largely descriptive and diagnostic. And it is also giving us inputs in terms of data coming in and then creating a standard format of reporting, because that is what SAP softwares can do. And then we are talking about advanced reporting, and then we are talking about advanced analytics, but largely it is still playing in the area of describing and diagnosing, right? And then it is talking about predict and act. But here they are giving us a very, very important input in the process of doing analytics, which is simulation, right? So what does simulation mean here? It means that test run it and believe the outcomes of test run to then apply on a larger audience. So if there is attrition rates in an organization and it's quite high, and you know there are A and B and C and D solutions that exist, then run those solutions for a smaller group of audience, or for a location, or for a project, or for some members, or on some member teams or some managers team, and see the result before making it a larger part of policy. Simulation is the keyword here, which is helping us predict in a more definite manner, right? Or prescribe in a more definite manner, because from prediction to prescription, additional step is simulation. Very, very interesting, isn't it? Right? So when we talk about this is the journey that we are talking about. In fact, when I am normally interacting or training or teaching, especially for CHRMP certification, I think this model and cases associated with this model in terms of how simulations may look like or how application of simulation in real world scenarios look like is one area where the certification participants are really, really interested, because that gives them a flavor of executing analytics and reaching the solution stage, which is the most difficult stage, because your solution, you're giving a solution. What if it goes wrong, right? So that's very, very, very interesting. Yeah. So yes, that's very, very important. And so the first element here is to understand that in any analytics, there are two key steps, which is analysis and analytics. And it is about describing and diagnosing and predicting and prescribing, which I completely agree to, right? And even differentiating between prediction and prescription is extremely important for us, because otherwise, if I only call it predictive analysis, it would be more about predictions, but it would not be about solution, right? So even in solution, there is some amount of prediction. I'm not saying that, but this differentiation between prediction and prescription makes a lot of sense, especially for any practicing HR or any business professional, in fact, any professional for that aspect. Because eventually, I mean, if you look at, that's what they say now, one of the top skills of 21st century is solution thinking and being able to make data-based, solution-based approaches, isn't it? Right? Okay. So this is one part. But what is also very important is to be able to make HR measurable, right? And unless you don't make HR quantifiable, you would not be able to then do the initial steps, right, of describing and diagnosing in X and Y and Z, right? So making HR measurable is very important. And a lot of times, that is what people wonder, that how do we make HR measurable? Because HR is a lot of times sitting on a lot of data, but data can be highly qualitative and it can be quantitative, and there can be so many things that are happening within the organization related to people, and that you might be lost in terms of what to measure and what not to measure and how to measure, right? So how to measure is a very, very important question for which we need an answer, right? And that answer comes through this very important aspect called matrix, right? And when we talk about matrix, we are talking about being able to measure any business activity that is happening, right? How do we create a formula or a tool that allows us to measure a business activity? And that is what matrix is. And eventually, there can be too many metrics for you to manage. So you should only work on metrics that matter, right? That is something that eventually it would boil down to. And one way of identifying it is what matters to the organization and what problem it's aiming at solving. But largely understanding metrics from a structuring point of view, from a point of view where you are aiming at measuring a business activity is very, very important, right? So when we talk about, let's say, measuring a business activity, then we are talking about anything that's happening in an organization. So for example, let's say in a process of talent acquisition, you have people who have been part of the hiring various rounds and various steps, and now offers have been made, but not everybody has joined, right? So what are we aiming? So this is the activity that has happened, isn't it? Offers have been made, but people are not joining. So let's call it offer drop rate, right? And when we go about measuring, this is a very simple example, but largely we are talking about measuring offer drop rates, right? We are talking about organizations being open for X number of days for Y number of employees, but so many Z number of employees didn't come for A number of days, right? What are we talking about? This is the activity that has happened, but we are talking about measuring absenteeism, right? it can be anything. It can be application completion rate on your website, where people are filling in the application, but at one step they are leaving it. So there is application drop that is happening. So X number of people started filling in, but where exactly they lose patience, or is it you do whatever problem that you are aiming at solving, or even if it's not a problem, any business activity that you are aiming at measuring, we are talking, and you're looking at what are you aiming at doing it? You're aiming at making it measurable, right? How do you measure it, right? How do you, so if it's a very important question to ask of what's happening in the organization, and how, or in not necessarily in the organization, in your department, in your team, in your process, right? And what can I do to go about measuring? That is very, very important, right? So this is what metric is. So I would not say HR analytics is all about metrics, but matrices make HR analytics simple. And I would say that our command over matrices is important in terms of us excelling in HR analytics, but it's not, I mean, there's much more to analytics than metrics. But one important question that it helps us answer is being able to make things quantifiable and being able to measure any business activity. That's the biggest takeaway when we talk about what metrics are, right? And just to give you an idea, right? And I would want, again, for all of you to guess, right? What do you think is this formula? What is it representing, right? What rate is it representing? There are a lot of matrices we know, isn't it? So what do you think? I would want you to type your answers in the chat box. Some matrices that we know, which are very popular, very, very common. ATT dash 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 ON rate, right? What do you think it represents, right? Number of employees who left the workforce divided by average number of employees into 100. What does it represent? Wonderful. Yes, it represents. Yes, 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 yes. Bang on. Attrition rate, isn't it? It represents attrition rate. Very good. Very good. Yes, it represents attrition rate. So number of people who left the workforce in a month or in a quarter divided by average number of employees. Earlier it was, now that we have so many HRIS tools, etc., it's so easy to get average number of employees. Otherwise, the old method was first of month plus last of month by 2, X and Y and Z. But now you have average number of employees into 100, right? It gives us. Let me try with another one, right? And I would want more involvement by all of you, because something more interesting is coming in. Because right now we are talking about metrics that we know, right? So this next one, yeah, so this is the attrition rate. You are absolutely right. Yeah. The next one is, what do you think this one is? What do you think this one is? The formula is number of promoters minus number of detractors divided by total number of respondents into 100. And I have also given you a problem to solve, a very, very easy problem to solve here. You can also type in your answers, but what does it represent? Wonderful. Net promoter score. Net promoter score is a very, very important metric. In fact, it was a customer satisfaction metric. It was used for customer service and customer excellence. But now it has become for employee relations as well, a very, very important metric, isn't it? Right? What does net promoter score mean? For example, let's say you watch a movie and you love it. What do? You promote it, isn't it? You talk to everyone and say, what a lovely movie. If you go to a restaurant and there is lovely food, or a cafe, you promote it, isn't it? And if you don't like a movie, what do? You are a detractor, right? Yeah. So we are talking about net promoter score. Is your employee your net promoter or not? And we are talking about an example where we are talking about calculating the net promoter score. We are talking about calculating the net promoter score, which no doubt has so many right answers, isn't it? Right? Great. Wonderful. Wonderful. So now this is what we are talking about here. We are talking about some metrics that we know. We know these are common metrics. So if you look at top 10, top 20 most commonly used metrics in HR or otherwise what matters to organization, yes, I think attrition and net promoter would be on top, right? And these formulas either you can understand or you can remember, just like how we remembered a plus b whole square, etc. You can go about doing it, but that these are universal ones, right? But now there might be situations where there are metrics we don't know and we may have to create. We don't know and we may have to create, right? So given a situation where we have to calculate a metric for performance, right? Where culture and employee engagement connect for performance is visible, what do you think would be the formula for performance? If you have to measure performance, linking it back to culture and employee engagement, right? What do you think the formula of performance may look like? Let's answer this. What do you think the formula for performance may look like? Let's create, isn't it? Let's try creating some matrix. Type in your answers in the chat box and let's see what. Think about it, right? Performance being linked to culture and employee engagement. Culture and employee engagement. If you have to link performance to culture and employee engagement, what do you think would be the formula for that? Any answers? Try. I'll give you 30 seconds. Think about it and let me know. Very good. Good try. Commitment into capacity. Attendance. Someone would be very happy with that answer, Mukul. Yeah. So look at this, right? The formula for performance now becomes ability, because what you need for performance is skill or competency or ability. So the common word, let's say, which represents, let's say, skill or competency, we are using something called ability, right? And when we talk about culture, we are talking about the support that the organization is giving, right? And when we talk about employee engagement, and in fact, culture and employee engagement both are kind of mixed, but then we are talking about motivation. So a motivated employee who is supported well and has the ability and the skill will be able to perform, right? Makes sense, right? If a demotivated employee, not supported well, even with a lot of ability, will not be able to perform, right? So performance is equal to ability into support into motivation. Let's try another one. Innovation. What would be the formula for innovation? What would be the formula for innovation? Again, 30 seconds. Type in your answers for a metric that we are learning to create right now, which is innovation. Passion into creativity into, okay. Interest into capability into passion, creativity into freedom into resources, frequency of new ideas contributed, very good. Empowerment idea into practicality, okay, wonderful, very good guys. I'm so happy, right, that at this time at night, which is 9:15, you're coming up with such wonderful element. But yes, look at this, an innovation for number, the formula is number of or value of successful product or process ideas divided by total number of ideas or total number of suggestions, right? So remember this, that when we are talking, very important takeaway, that when we are making something quantifiable, when we are making something measurable, there would be things that we would be exposed to and something that would exist, and then there would be things that we would have to create. And this is a very important skill for us to develop, where we are able to create and learn how to be able to measure things. This is a very important takeaway. In fact, again, when we do this activity there, which is on creation of matrix, the session that runs for is for 4 hours, but invariably I've seen the session go on for 5 or 6 hours, because it's the participants who request us that give us extension, because it's so interesting. And you can really, the moment you make something tangible, it's such a win, isn't it? Right? And remember, because of different businesses having different processes and different way of activities being executed in their respective organizations, you cannot have the same matrix everywhere, right? You will have some or the other matrix. You may have similar sounding or similar naming matrix, but the formulas may change, and there might not be that universality of the formulas that we normally see in maths, etc., or Pythagoras theorem or algebra, etc., may not be applicable, right? Yeah. So yes, I'll be taking questions towards the end. If you have any questions on this, please do feel free to ask towards the end. So now we have come to the last leg of the session, and I have hardly 5-6 more minutes to do this. And I also want to spend at least 5 minutes for the Q&A. Even if we have to cut time for vote of thanks, that's fine, because I want everybody to get the question right? The concept right? First, we have understood that gut. We have busted some myths. We have understood that data is very, very important, and look at data before you using your gut, right? Which is very, very important, and step back and ask questions, very, very important, right? And then we have understood the steps involved in analytics, which is extremely important. We have understood describing and diagnosing and predicting and prescribing, and the difference between prediction and prescription. And we have also understood simulations, and then we have understood the steps that we need to take to make it measurable, right? So in the brief time that we have walked quite a distance when it comes to analytics, right? That still does not answer a very important question, which is impact on business, right? So now let's answer that, right? So impact on business. So problems analytics in HR aims at solving. Let's do that, and then let's quickly pick up a problem and a quick example to be able to do that, right? Okay, so this is what it aims at. Make better hiring decisions by predicting candidate success. These are very, very important things, guys. Yeah, making better hiring decisions by predicting candidate success, which changes. And that, if you look at why recruitment is now being called talent acquisition, because recruitment would end with the process of vacancy being filled. But here we are talking about talent acquisition, which means prove back to the business that the person that got hired was a talent acquired, right? Or training and development, the name changing to learning and development or talent development. Why? Why did that happen? Because today we have to get back and redraw the board in terms of what the performance parameters are, or what the organization wants from us, right? Prevent talent from quitting their job by predicting employee turnover. Test which employee policies are effective and which ones are not. Such an important thing, isn't it? Identify and quantify work accident risk. Analyze future workforce needs. Very, very important. In fact, one of the seminars I was conducting for one of the top colleges, where I was talking about future of work, right? And it was such, you would not recognize the designations that are going to come in next 5 years, right? In human resource. Improve and optimize the employee experience, coming up with better talent development strategy. We are talking about predicting ROI calculation on talent development initiative. Look at this, predicting ROI calculation. ROI always has been post, at least with training, isn't it? Go and ask anybody, right? ROI would be, okay, how did the training go? But we are here, what we are talking about, predicting ROI calculation on talent development initiative, tackling talent scarcity, process improvement, improved employee productivity, optimize organizational culture, improve company profitability per employee, profit connect, very, very important, right? Better compensation and reward decisions, link HR action to business outcomes. These are some of the problems, right, that HR analytics is looking at solving. And let's quickly pick up one of the problems, which is predictive ROI calculation, It's fairly simple, and keeping the time that we have in hand and also the time of the day it is, I have picked this one up, but there are hundreds and thousands of problems more complex than this that And again, I would want your participation. So pick up your calculators or whatever and help me answer this, right? So what are we talking about? We are talking about how you can predict return of investment of a training initiative before it has happened. Before it has happened, thus helping organization optimize training spends, right? Is the objective clear, right? And now let's look at this activity or the exercise. But before that, let me give you the formula for ROI. I'm sure you must be knowing, and just in case you don't know, ROI is return of investment. Return of investment formula is net benefit divided by total cost into 100. Net benefit is calculated as total benefit minus total cost, right? Net benefit is calculated as total benefit minus total cost. Don't forget this. Let me quickly take the easiest example on planet Earth. Let's say this is a Harappan horse. You will never buy it for $100. It would be in millions of dollars, but the artifact it is, and you have bought a replica for $100, and now you have sold it for $250. You have sold it for $250. What do you think would be the ROI? Quickly, what do you think would be the ROI? ROI formula is net benefits divided by total cost into 100. Net benefit is total benefit minus total cost, right? What would be the answer? The answer is 150. Perfect. The answer is 150. How did you recalculate it? Net benefit is 250 minus 100, which is total benefit minus total cost, which is $150. Total cost is 100. So ROI is 150 divided by 100 into 100. It is 150%. Would you want to get into a business like this? Yes, you would want to get into a business like this because we are talking about such a wonderful calculation. Yes or no? Right? Okay. Now let me give you a human resource problem. Right? And let me give you 2 minutes to give this answer. I'll just read the problem out for you. Now the data has been collected. So we are assuming we cannot go right now and learn how this data has come in, but at least we can. A long-term training program is expected to reduce absenteeism by 10% for your company, right? The total cost of absenteeism is $10,20,000 in the previous year. Hiring a trainer would cost you $25,000 per annum. So this is per annum. And additional overall cost is equal to $5,000 per annum, right? A total number of 15 managers will participate in this training for 8 hours a month for 12 months. 15 managers, 8 hours for 12 months. Average pay for manager is $60 per hour. It is $60 per hour. Benefits in terms of absenteeism is going to be seen for 3 years. Calculate the ROI and advise the business based on this business problem. Should they go ahead with this training initiative or not? Should they go ahead with this training initiative or not? Quickly, you have 2 minutes. I'm sorry, we have lack of time. 2 minutes. Quickly try calculating and letting me know what do you think would be your answer, right? So let me now start solving this for you. And I want you to pay attention, 42.3. I want you to pay attention. I know there's too less a time, but again, let's focus on this. So let's calculate total cost. Total cost here is manager. Trainer is $25,000. 15 managers, 8 hours, 12 months, $60 per hour. It comes to 86,400, right? It comes to 86,400. Additional cost is 5,000. So this is cost of training, facility, etc. Total cost is 1,16,400. 86,400 plus 25 plus 5. 1,16,400 is the total cost. Let's look at total benefits. A lot of people will make mistakes in total benefit. Estimated reduction of absenteeism is 10%. Total cost of absenteeism is 10,20,000. So the benefit that organization is getting is 10% of that cost, which is 10% of 10,20,000, which is 1,02,000 per year, which is 1,02,000 per year. But look at the last para. Benefits in terms of absenteeism can be seen for up to 3 years. Can be seen for up to 3 years. So benefit is 1,02,000 into 3, which is 3,06,000. So total benefit is 3,06,000. Total benefit is 6,03,000. And now we have net benefit, which is 3,06,000 minus 1,16,400, which is 1,89,600. And ROI is net benefit, which is 1,89,600 divided by 1,16,400, which is 162.88%, which is 162.88%. Would you advise the business for this talent investment? Yes or no? This is prediction, guys. This is prediction. We will advise the business to go ahead with this. 162.88% ROI. That's the prediction, right? And you may do a reevaluation, etc. I'm not saying that you would not, but this is much more certain. And this is the solution that I'm talking about. This is where the future lies. If you are able to advise business on elements like these, right? I think we are talking about a strategic role, right? We are talking about a consulting and a solutioning role that HRs can do. Isn't that true? And now, last two slides for everyone. In fact, why is analytics more important? Very, very important. I mean, everybody agrees to this, and that's why you guys are here. But every $1 spent on analytics, whichever analytics it is, not necessarily HR analytics, is giving a return of $13. Look at this. $1 being spent, we are talking about $13 in return. It's huge. It's really huge that we are talking about. And from analytics perspective, right, we are talking about 7 out of 10 roles. And I did say that, right? It would require analytics knowledge. It would require analytics knowledge. It was never like this before. And this data is 7 out of 10 is what it's a pre-pandemic data. It is Jan 2020. And it is for 2025 is the estimated time. I'm sure what has happened in this time would probably a year or two sooner, right? 68% of all the companies that you would want to work for, and if as HR, would have a dedicated HR analytics center of excellence, right? That is what we are talking about, right? That is what we are talking about. So this is what we have covered, guys. We still have about 2 minutes, 3 minutes. We have gone about busting some myths. We have gone about understanding difference between analysis and analytics. We have differentiated not using gut or using gut with data or data, prioritizing data over gut. We have understood how HR analytics is structured in terms of model from description to prescription. And we have understood how to make HR analytics measurable. And we have also looked at the problems that HR analytics can solve. And we have also looked at an example of how it solves the problem, right? So this in 1 hour, I mean, normally if you look at the CHRMP certification that we do in analytics, it is a 12-week certification. It is almost 50, 60 hours of session. It was 1 hour that I had, and I hope I've been able to do justice to that. And thank you so much for being such a participative audience.